Welcome back to iTech Solutions, interactive video sessions on learning how to use TILOS. In today's video, we are going to see how to add resources and what are the various types of resources available. So, from where you get all the details of the resources in TILOS is within the TILOS library itself. So, when we go to the TILOS Explorer on the left, you can see the library. Under library, you can see that there are resources and accounts. Under that, you can go to resources. You can see that there is a labor, machine, material, and also other two options for pipeline and track building, which is by default available. So based on your project, you can either change or add such resources to your liking. So first, let's see how to configure a resource template. So under labor, you can see that there is an assistant. So if you double click on that, a dialog box appears with various details. This dialog box or the resource properties dialog box is constant for all the type of resources. Let it be labor, let it be machine, let it be material. So under that, you can see that there is a short name, there is a resource ID if you want to configure for your organization or for the project, the name. So in these cases, even the level of the details, like you want to give a specific name to the assistant. So if the assistant's name it's going to be David, Charles, or etc., can also be added here. Next, on the bottom, you can see that what is the parent in which it is coming. So if it is going to be a labor resources, we are going to mark it under the labor resources, which means a later stage when we are making it into a histogram or to grouping of data, this becomes almost similar to a WBS, where all the details of this labor will go into the labor category or the material category, which type of resource. Next is the type of resource. There are three different types of resources. One is permanent, one is consumable, and another is component. Always equipment and the labor will come under permanent resource and materials come under consumable resource. A component resource is something like example of a concrete pouring truck. So in the concrete truck, you can see that there is 20 cubic meters of concrete as our consumable resource, and the equipment or the concrete loader or the miller machine will become your permanent resource in terms of it. So in that fashion can also be created. So for here it is a permanent resource. The operation model is nothing but the numbers. So there are various options like effort of time, operation hours, etc. But the most efficient or the commonly used resource calculation method is the number, which means how many types of people or how many equipments are being used. So how many assistants. In this case, if you are going to create it as allocation number, you can define the number of assistants, the number of movements we can use here. Next is the time. So how we want to calculate the cost of the labor. So is it in hours, is it in days, is it in a full 24-hour shift, 12-hour shift, depending on the requirement of your project, you can select it. The operations value is nothing but efficiency. The operations value will mostly be applicable for equipment, where you are going to, let's say, I'm going to a machine and I'm going to go for this excavator. The excavator, let's say the excavator has a registration number and it is a 15-year-old equipment, which means that the efficiency is only 75%, where you can add 0.75. So what happens is only 75% efficiency, because we have to factor in for your breakdown hours, the maintenance hours, or any other factors. So this is operational value. Next, if you want to have it to the nearest integer, no rounding, you can select. So you can use this resource for actual also if you want to tell. And what is the filter character? It's a permanent resource, is the PM is taken. Or since I've selected a equipment resource, if you want to make it into a labor resource, you can select. On the right hand side is the cost takedown. So again, as how we are allocating it to a parent under the resource like a WBS, the cost is also available in parallel, where you can add it to the income, to the labor, to the machine, material, or any other cost which you are creating. And you can see that since we have selected hour, we have to be very careful when we are defining a resource. So you should see that if it is hour, which means that per hour it is 60 pounds. Also you can have default cost account codes. This can also be added under the library if you want to add for Indian currency. So for adding an Indian currency, if we scroll down in the bottom, in the other libraries, you can see that currencies are available. So under currencies, I'm going to right click new currency. So what is the name will be Indian rupees. So short form will be INR. There is an exchange rate. In case you're working in a cross-country project where you have to take items of value with, let's say, a US dollar, or you are going to have the British pounds or euro, you will have an exchange rate. So if it is going to be what is the value you can, or else for now, if there is no exchange rate and our only currency is Indian rupees, press 1. Okay, you can see on the right hand side of the screen that INR has been added. So if we go back to our resources, and if I'm going to the same excavator or any other excavator, I can see that whatever we added as Indian rupee is reflected here. So which means that per hour this equipment is, let's say, it's going to cost us 2,500 rupees. So for here I'm going to write it as excavator 01. Short name will be excavator 01. Here the excavator number can be, we will take it as Delhi 01 CC 4578, something like that. So this level of detailing can be made, and the cost for, since this is a expense which is being made, you can add it as cost. But there is also an option called as income. Why is it an income? If there is going to be an income, which means that you are going to spend this resource and directly this cost is going to be charged directly by you to the contractor or to anyone else, you can add it under income as well. There are additional work data like option length, etc., which is also can be added, or it is irrelevant. So I'm pressing OK. If we want to see the same things for material, you can see that there is something called concrete. A similar dialog box open, so you can see what is the parent code, what is the name, it's a consumable resource, how you are calculating them. So it is a fixed quantity. So this is for concrete. If you are going to go for fuel, you can see the fixed quantity will be liter. You can add this also, and there is no operational value for fuel. But whereas we go for concrete also, there is no operational value. The quantity is, these are all material and we want to select it in quantity calculation. So the quantity is taken. Also, you can see that the unit cost for per cubic meter of concrete is costing, let's say, Indian rupees. For example, just I am going to take 7,500 or 8,000 rupees per cubic meter, and it is going to cost, and I can add it and begin. Now we have seen how to define a resource. Now how to add these resources. So there are multiple ways to add a resource to it, but the most common logic is to go and add it either in the library of the activity itself, so that it is always fixed. For example, if I'm going to have a topsoil stripping activity, so for this topsoil stripping activity, at the bottom you can see that allocations is available. In this allocation, I can add the resource here, or I can add the cost also here. But if I'm going to do it in the activity library, every time topsoil stripping activity is there, an excavator will also be added. But again, we have to always be careful when we are adding in a template or the library, because it permanently changes the activities way of how it will be scheduled or the calculation will be taken. So it is always advisable that once you draw the activity inside your time location chart, you can select and you can do it. So for this, now I'm going to select this topsoil stripping activity and I'm going to add a resource. In the detail object toolbar, there is allocations planned because it's the plan. Also remember that please add your resources before defining the baseline, then define the baseline, so that it will be very helpful for you to monitor plan versus actual of the how much quantity of resources used, or how much effort of time is being put, how much hours has been completed, and etc. Now I can add a number of resources. So here what I'm going to add is I'm going to add an operator. You can see that automatically TILOS will prompt you to take something. Be very clear on what you want to add. Next is the machine. Here I wanted to add the excavator 01, what we defined now. I have added, and also here let's just say take for example the concrete. I'm selecting the concrete as well. You can see that you can add multiple resources to an activity, and all the machine operator hours is available in British pound, which can also be changed. So what we have to do, let us go back, press OK, and I'm going to go to the operator and I change this to INR, and the machine operator is going to charge, let's say, 100 rupees, 150 rupees per hour. Just press OK. I can again go back, add here, go to the operator, and I can add the operator. You can see that it is added. But you saw that every time you press the plus button, the pre-existing items will repeat itself. So you have to be very clear to remove all the items and add. Still, we have added multiple times. So you can just like that press delete, delete. So we have one concrete, we have an operator, and we have an excavator, and the total cost. You can see that TILOS has already calculated what will be the cost of the activity and if it's an income. So what is the total operation value is 100% efficiency we are taking. This is the time taken to complete this activity based on the calculation model. So whatever is the calculation model we have selected, it will take that thing and based on the unit and allocation number, so it is going to calculate. You can see that the allocation number is not applicable for concrete because it is a quantity and how much value has been completed. So the unit cost here is just one operation value and the quantity is not calculated, it is taken. So this is the manner in which we will add resources to TILOS, and once we reschedule it, all the other items will be auto-populated and you can have a plan versus actual when you update progress as well. That is all for today. Thank you.